The history of Oman from ancient trade routes to a modern Gulf nation. Oman, located on the southeastern coast of the Arabian Peninsula, has a unique history defined by its role in ancient trade networks, rich maritime heritage, and a tradition of independence and diplomacy. Oman has been inhabited since prehistoric times, and its strategic position along the Arabian Sea and the Indian Ocean facilitated its development as a major center for trade, exploration, and cultural exchange. From the early days of the frankincense trade to the formation of a powerful maritime empire, Oman has evolved into a stable, prosperous nation with a carefully balanced approach to modernity and tradition. Prehistoric Oman and the early kingdoms. Oman's history of human habitation dates back to the Stone Age, with archaeological evidence of early settlements and trade activities. By the Bronze Age around 3000 BC, Oman had developed into a center of commerce and mining, with a society known as Magan and ancient civilization referenced in Mesopotamian texts. Magan was known for its production of copper, which it traded with neighboring civilizations in Mesopotamia and the Indus Valley. In addition to copper, Oman's southern Dhofar region was famous for producing frankincense, a valuable resin used in religious rituals across the ancient world. The frankincense trade became a primary driver of the Oman economy, connecting Oman with Egypt, Rome, Persia, and India. This early wealth laid the foundation for Oman's prosperity and its reputation as a significant trade hub. The arrival of Islam. Islam came to Oman during the lifetime of the Prophet Muhammad in the 7th century CE. Omanis were among the first communities outside of the Arabian Peninsula to convert to Islam. Oman embraced the Ibadi branch of Islam, which remains the dominant sect in the country today. The Ibadis are known for their emphasis on tolerance, community consensus, and nonviolence, and the Ibadism influence has contributed to Oman's historical culture of moderation and independence in religious matters. With the spread of Islam, Oman's maritime activities expanded further as Omani sailors and merchants became active participants in trade across the Indian Ocean, reaching as far as East Africa, India, and Southeast Asia. The development of dhows, traditional Omani sailing vessels, enabled the Omanis to control significant portions of the lucrative maritime trade routes that connected the Middle East, Africa, and Asia. The rise of the Oman Maritime Empire. In the early 16th century, Oman faced a new wave of foreign intervention when Portugal sought to control the Indian Ocean trade and seized key coastal towns, including Muscat. The Portuguese occupation, which lasted until 1650, significantly impacted Oman's economy and sovereignty. However, Omanis resisted and eventually expelled the Portuguese under the leadership of Imam Sultan bin Saif al-Yarubi. The expulsion marked a turning point for Oman, as the Yarubi dynasty began to expand Oman's influence. In the 17th and 18th centuries, Oman developed into a maritime empire, extending its reach along the East African coast. Oman established strongholds in Zanzibar, Mombasa, and other coastal cities, transforming the region into a prosperous Oman African empire. This period of expansion allowed Oman to dominate regional trade networks, exporting goods like ivory, spices, and slaves, and importing textiles, porcelain, and other luxury items from Asia. Under Syed Said bin Sultan, who ruled in the 19th century, Oman's influence in East Africa reached its peak. Sayyid Said even relocated his capital to Zanzibar, strengthening Oman's African ties. However, the empire faced internal challenges, and upon his death in 1856, Oman and Zanzibar split into separate entities, with Zanzibar remaining under Omani rule while Muscat and Oman became a distinct state. British influence and protectorate status. In the late 19th and early 20th centuries, Oman fell under British influence as European powers vied for control over the strategic maritime routes of the Indian Ocean and the Persian Gulf. Although Oman was never formally colonized, British influence over Oman affairs grew through a series of treaties, with Britain maintaining control over Oman's foreign policy and defense. This relationship ultimately limited Oman's ability to expand and govern autonomously, although Oman retained a significant degree of independence relative to other territories in the region. Oman faced periods of internal conflict during this time, including the Dhofar Rebellion 1960 to 1976, which was partly fueled by social grievances and supported by foreign states. This conflict posed a significant challenge to Oman's stability, but with British support and the efforts of Sultan Qaboos bin Said, the rebellion was ultimately suppressed. The reign of Sultan Qaboos bin Said and modernization. In 1970, Sultan Qaboos bin Said assumed power in a bloodless coup against his father, Sultan Said bin Timur. Qaboos sought to modernize and unify Oman, launching ambitious reforms to improve infrastructure, healthcare, education, and economic development. Over the next 5 decades, Oman transformed from an isolated country with limited infrastructure to a modern state with extensive road networks, schools, hospitals, and ports. Qaboos emphasized the development of Oman's oil industry, which provided the capital for modernization, while also promoting the diversification of the economy through tourism, fishing, and manufacturing. Sultan Qaboos implemented a foreign policy of neutrality and diplomacy, fostering relationships with neighboring Gulf states as well as global powers. Oman became a key mediator in regional conflicts and maintained peaceful relations with countries like Iran and Saudi Arabia. Qaboos' balanced foreign policy helped Oman maintain stability, especially during turbulent times like the Iran-Iraq War, the Gulf War, and recent geopolitical tensions in the Middle East. Oman in the 21st century. After Sultan Qaboos passed away in 2020, his cousin, Sultan Haytham bin Tariq, assumed the throne. Haytham pledged to continue Qaboos' legacy, focusing on economic diversification, social reforms, and maintaining Oman's diplomatic neutrality. Under Sultan Haytham, Oman is implementing Vision 2040, a strategic roadmap to diversify the economy away from oil dependence by promoting sectors like tourism, logistics, renewable energy, and fisheries. Oman has also taken a proactive approach to environmental conservation, preserving its natural landscapes and biodiversity, particularly in regions like Dhofar and the Musandam Peninsula. Furthermore, Oman is investing in education and innovation to equip its younger generation for a competitive, knowledge-based economy. Cultural heritage and modern identity. Oman has a rich cultural heritage shaped by centuries of maritime trade, African influence, and Bedouin traditions. The country is known for its distinctive architecture, including the traditional Omani forts and the Grand Mosque in Muscat. Oman's heritage is celebrated in its traditional music, dance, and handicrafts, such as silverwork and pottery. The Omani people take pride in their traditions, including the wearing of the national dress, the dishdasha for men, and the colorful Oman abaya for women. Omani cuisine reflects its diverse influences, with dishes featuring ingredients like rice, seafood, dates, and spices from India and East Africa. The preservation of Omani culture, including its folklore and storytelling, has remained a priority for the government and society as they adapt to modernity. Conclusion. Oman's history is marked by resilience, adaptability, and a commitment to independence and peaceful diplomacy. From its ancient trade networks to the maritime empire and modern statehood, Oman has emerged as a stable, prosperous country in a turbulent region. Oman's legacy of moderation, as shaped by the values of Ibadi Islam and the vision of leaders like Sultan Qaboos, continues to guide its approach to both domestic and international affairs. Today, Oman balances tradition with modernity, embracing a future of economic diversification and global cooperation while honoring its rich cultural past.